If you're unsure about how to approach creative for your Facebook ads and you want a list of ad examples that you can steal, this video is for you. In this video, I'm going to show you my top 10 creative strategies for Facebook ads as we're going into 2021. Now, this is my exact Facebook ad swipe file I use every single day to develop creative strategies for my clients at the agency, including how I approach creating video ads when you got no video. So I find the best way to approach this list is to use it like a menu so that you can pick and choose the strategies that you want to test with your brand. No more fluff. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So the first ad type I want to talk about is called a review ad. This ad showcases a testimonial or review to provide the potential customer with social proof of your product. Content is created by the brand and primarily features a text overlay. Now, the two major strategies are this. Number one, you can use a customer testimonial. Or two, you can use a press hit or review. Now, the most common format for this is just to use an image, again with that text overlay, but you can also create a cool GIF or video using a similar effect. The second ad type I want to talk about is user-generated content. And again, this video showcases a testimonial or review to provide the potential customer's social proof. It's really similar to the review ad, except this content is developed by a user, primarily using video. And I find that there are three major strategies for this. Number one, you can show a compilation of reviews or testimonials. So this is multiple reviews edited down into a story. Now, I find that this strategy is really great for prospecting because it shows proof in numbers. The second kind of strategy for UGC is to use a single testimonial or review, kind of like this hydrant ad, which I think does a really good job of going in depth on the product. And I find that this kind of strategy works really well in retargeting because it shows your potential customer a much bigger in-depth review and educates them so that they can feel more confident to purchase. The third strategy for UGC is unboxing. And yes, you can utilize really a combination of these strategies to fit one, but I do find that these UGC ads tend to fall into one of these three strategies. Now, the most common format for UGC is going to be video. And I find some really cool effects with actually using organic looking Instagram stories or even TikToks directly in the video. However, if you only have images, you can definitely utilize that UGC as well. The third ad I want to talk about is called a benefits ad. And this ad utilizes headlines or subtitles to clearly communicate the benefits of your product. It can also answer any common objections that potential customers may have. So again, the main strategy here is to clearly communicate those benefits, not necessarily the features. I think this Colugo strollers ad does a really good job of communicating the benefits their product has for busy moms. The best kind of formats for these benefits ads are definitely going to be video or slideshows, and you're going to have to really rely on those headlines to tell that story. The next ad type I want to talk about is the before and after ad. So this ad showcases the before and after impact of your product or brand. Essentially, this content is meant to showcase the better life realized because of your product. Something interesting to note here is that Facebook actually bans the use of before and after shots of the human body. So be sure you're not trying to communicate any sort of weight loss or body improvements because that's not going to be allowed on your Facebook ads. So again, the main strategy here is to showcase your better life realized with your product or brand. And I think a really fun effect to use here is a split screen, kind of like this Mason ad. As far as formats go, I think video is going to be super strong here. But if you don't have any video content, I think it would still be really cool to showcase the before and after with some images. The next ad type is called split screen. And this ad uses a split screen to grab the user's attention. I actually think this one is super effective. I always stop when I see a split screen ad. And the reason why is because it actually breaks up the scroll and it just is so eye-catching that I always stop. And you can utilize these in any formats. You can use image, slideshow, or even video with a fun edit. And probably my favorite ad type is actually the SMS Conversation Ad. This ad type uses a seemingly authentic SMS conversation to educate your users about your product. And honestly, it's so effective in stopping the scroll because I have an iPhone and every time I see it, something goes on in my brain where I'm like, is that my phone? I don't know, my brain wires just totally get crossed every time I see this ad. So there are two major strategies for this. You can use an actual iPhone conversation. The second strategy is to simply use text bubbles or even sounds to simulate that effect. Now, of course, you can use video for this, especially if you want to show the entire conversation happening in real time, but you could also test this using images. Now, another ad type I want to talk about is called the benefits/features point out. And I really love this one because what you do is you directly point out features or benefits directly on the product. Every time I see this one, I always stop because I feel like one of them often catches my eye and just psychologically, I want to look look at the rest of them. And what's cool is you can use this on images. I think that's a really solid strategy if you only have image content, but you can also do this on video too. Now, a common question that I get asked is, what if I don't have any video content? And something I want to make very clear is that even if you don't have any video content, you can still create video ads. The easiest way to do this is to create a slideshow of your best performing images. Now, this can be taken from your organic content, or it can be taken from previous ads that you have tested. Another way to do this is by actually creating that movement with text. So you don't even have to change the background. You can actually have the text move around the image. And the third strategy for this too is to kind of do a combination of both, but you can actually add colored backgrounds in between the different images to extend the video and communicate more about your product or brand. I think Brass did a really great job of this. And something just to note, we'll definitely get on it more in a little bit, but you can also do any of these strategies for Instagram stories. So if you don't feel like you have that much ad content, always take the strategy you want to use and then format it for Instagram stories. And I'll tell you why in just a second. Now I want to talk about some smart tricks I have for single images or carousels. So one of my favorite tricks to jazz up a single image ad is to simply add a headline over the image. And what's cool about this is that there's no limit to the different kinds of headlines you can test. And one of my secret suggestions here is to use Instagram Stories font, which is called San Francisco font, because I just think it feels really organic and kind of fun. And what's cool too is you can do this for a carousel and tell more of a story. I think that Buffy did a really good job in this ad. Another fun trick I have for carousels, especially when I'm working with a client that primarily only has product shots, so that's a product on a white background, is I actually like just changing the background colors. Every time I see this, I always stop because it's something new. And if you're a little bit uncertain about how to create some of this creative, this is a super easy one to execute on. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is Instagram Stories only content. Now, Instagram Stories can be a dunk for the right brands because the CPMs are a lot lower than the feed, and I think the engagement is a lot better too. So I think this is something that should be considered for most accounts. Definitely something to test. The cool things about Instagram Stories is you can literally take any of the other strategies that we've talked about and format it to Instagram Stories. And one of my secret favorite things to do too is to, again, use that Instagram Stories font and tell a story. I tend to find the click-through rates on those are super high because people think that it's organic content. It's a great way to find new top-of-funnel customers. Another really cool thing about Instagram Stories is you can also do polls, so you should definitely try that too. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is sort of how you can approach creating this creative for your clients or for your brand. And my strategy is this: if I think I can create it myself, then I just simply use Canva. I do have a pro account, so it is a little bit easier for me with all those extra features, but I do get a lot of use out of it, and I think it's a really good investment. No ad. And if I don't have time, or if I feel like I don't have the right skill set to develop the creative, I'll probably just hire someone on Fiverr. And if it's your first time on Fiverr, what I actually really like to do is I like to hire 3 people for the same job so that I can evaluate what their creative is. And once you work with a few people, you tend to find your favorites, and then you just go back to them over and over. The final thing I want to talk about is mobile first creative. Now, mobile first creative should be the content for all of this great creative strategy that we talked about, because the reality is people are going to be discovering your brand on their mobile device. And even more these days, people are actually making those purchases on their mobile device. So you need to make sure that not only is your ad creative for the mobile experience, but so is your website and your checkout experience. And something that I like to think about when I'm developing the creative for the ad, at least, is we want to make sure that it's, number one, developed for the sound off. So you want to include headlines or subtitles no matter what. Additionally, you want to try using quick movement or quick edits at the beginning to grab that attention. I find that the best kind of creative on Facebook ads these days is about 5 to 15 seconds long. I do test things up to 30 or even 60 seconds, especially in retargeting, but I like keeping 5 to 15, especially for those top of funnel prospecting campaigns. Another thing I really like to do is I like to use the logo within the first 5 seconds because I find that helps a lot with brand awareness. As far as format, if you're using Instagram Stories, do 9:16. Be sure it's formatted for that stories. Otherwise, I really do like using 4x5 or even square. The 4x5 format is something I've been using a lot more because I find it takes up more real estate on the phone, so that's something that we definitely want to utilize. And again, these mobile first criteria, this is just sort of something that you should keep in the back of your mind for creating all of your content. So when you are looking at using one of these 10 awesome strategies that we talked about today, be sure that it's using most of these mobile first creative criterias. And that's all. I know that was a ton of stuff, but honestly, This is something that I wish I would have had when I, was starting working with my clients, or even just like a year ago. I've only created this system recently, and seriously, the way that I approach it is every time I get a new client or I notice that we're having ad fatigue, I take a look at this presentation because I have it in PowerPoint, and I just select which creative strategy I think is going to be best for them, and it has been a slam dunk. So let me know in the comments which ones you guys are going to try. I think that, I've tried all of them now, and again, my favorites are SMS, and I'm really liking split screen these days as well. So let me know how it goes for you, and I'll see you next week. This one was super fun. Bye.